What up, 508 family? It's your boy, Michael Turpak, a.k.a. Bald and Beautiful, coming to you live for another edition of the 508 podcast. We are back. We have the original crew with us today. The OGs. The OGs are back. To my right, I have Dr. Yoda today.
Now he's a doctor. I can't keep up.
I have nicknames for days. Here's the thing. We already said bye to 2020. If you're watching this in like 2034 or something like that, because it's like the 508 podcast, everyone's like, dude, let's go watch the 508 podcast 2034. If you're watching it then, we just came out of COVID year.
Hopefully by that time you're still not single. You know?
Okay, right, okay. I rebuke that in Jesus' name. But,
still bald, though.
Okay, I'm going to be bald. Listen, here's the thing about this podcast that I love.
I don't know, if you use all those products that I keep sending you, you might grow hair.
You see him in 10 years from now actually having a load of hair.
Here's what I love about this podcast. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about words matter, okay? Words matter. It's really important because when you start talking about people that are bald and lost their hair when they're 24 years old and they're single and don't have a girlfriend, it's really important.
Did you say 24?
Yes, yeah, I did. Okay, anyways, go back to this podcast. If you're watching this thing in 2034, we just came out of a COVID year.
I just see it, dude. I just prophetically declare it. Sorry, I had to stay there. Go ahead.
We just came out of a COVID year, okay? But Justin, I would love for you to share a little bit about, we had a vision as a ministry to be trailblazers. Mm-hmm. Trailblazers. And I remember we had a strategy meeting, you came in, and I remember you were talking about this vision for us to like blaze a trail. And then from there came what we see now and what you guys don't see. I remember we started in Ruh's apartment. It was fun. But now we have an entire team here. We're having fun. So
20 people here.
Yeah, literally 20 people in the room. We have a whole production team and stuff like that. Did not start like that.
Took
a good 3 to 4 hours to film a one.
It certainly did. So I would love for you to share a little bit about the vision, even that he had spoken to you about Trailblazers. And how the heck did we get here?
I have no idea. I mean, the whole Trailblazers, I can't take credit for that because that was, I think that was a group effort. We literally were sitting down just praying about it and just trying to think through like, what is the 508 and what do we want to see? And we threw up like 60 different words on a wall, and we just started picking and choosing like, what do we like, what do we don't like, and Trailblazer just popped out. Like, this is it. Mm-hmm. Little did we know that that's exactly what we were going to do through 2020, because this was like December 2019 we were trying to put this together, and then through meeting, we're like, okay, well, how can we be different? How can we blaze a trail? How can we create something new? And the podcast came up. We're like, okay, why not? Let's just do a podcast. We love to teach. We love to talk. We love to just make fun of each other.
Yes, we do. Yes. That's why we're talking about words matter in the next episode.
So we just started talking through what would it look like to make a podcast, and we sat down in a room with the starting of the team. I think it was like 8 of us, mm-hmm. And we literally brainstormed the entirety of the 2020 podcast vision, mm-hmm. Pre-COVID scare too, which is one of the best meetings I think I've ever been in. Mm-hmm. Like we had that. We have like chalkboard walls or like whiteboard wall paint on the walls here, and I think the entire room was covered in vision. It was awesome. Yeah. And little did we know we would be reaching, what was it, 36 countries, 16,000 views. Mm-hmm. I mean, my expectations were blown out of the water last year. Amazing. Yeah, I remember when we first even started talking about the podcast, it was almost like, we're gonna try this thing. I don't really know. I don't know where to. Our team might watch it, but
yeah. I think we'll have 15 people within our ministry that's gonna watch this thing, and we really have seen God kind of put His hand of favor on it. What I will say though is that what I love about my pastor, I love a lot of things about my pastor. He's a good-looking guy. He's got just a great head of hair, and there's a lot of things I love about him. And I think you came out of your prayer closet like you were literally in there for 48 days straight, right? Just water. So I guess what I want the people to know is, how is our pastor doing? How is the prayer closet? We made a joke today that that he's kind of like he's got like this Zen Yoda kind of feel right now. He's got the green jacket. He's got a new wardrobe in 2021. He's got this new Zen Yoda feel as the pastor of this community. So how's our pastor feeling about this podcast?
I don't even know what to say after a setup like that, dude. I really don't. I don't know. Like, am I supposed to be feeling great? I do. Like, what am I supposed to say, bro? I have no idea. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling excited. I just came back from Florida, actually. My dad and I were getting training of just Pastors University is what it's called. So just how to be an effective leader, pastor. It's been amazing. We just ended the fast last night, too. So I felt like the fast was incredible. I was off social media for all of that. I don't know if you guys participated in that as well, but for me, like, man, I needed to get off social media. Did you guys do the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just healthy for my soul. So I think disconnecting from the world and really re-engaging with God has really helped me. And I had an absolute blast. I noticed that some of the habits that I wanted to break got broken. I want to make sure we sustain that. I know, obviously, that happened with you too. With obviously, you're engaging in coffee again.
Exposed. Thank you, guys.
Mike's like, I'm breaking coffee, and I was gonna see like, why is this like nitro shot? Dude. So we gotta obviously pray for him. Please extend your hands right now, Father Jesus. Break that curse in the name of Jesus. But no, I feel awesome. And fast was incredible. I'm really excited for this year.
Yeah, and I think Ruh was like in the jungle of Brazil. That's what I heard. I heard she was literally living in a tree hut in Brazil. And then the last day of Brazil, she just got super burnt. And so love that about Ruh. What I love about you though is everything started at your apartment.
That's right.
Okay, you still living there, by the way?
I'm still there.
Great place.
Yeah,
Great
we can go back anytime. Do a little throwback episode.
Mm-hmm.
We can do a little throwback.
In that place.
But to clarify, I was not at the Amazon with monkeys,
That's
okay, in a tree. I was visiting family, but that's how I started 2021, so it was awesome to travel.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
Praise God. All right, let's transition into the meat of this episode. I don't know, I was kind of like reminiscing on some stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we did that was funny and fun and awesome. And then there was a lot of even like very impactful like testimonies and stuff like that I'd love to debrief. I'd also love to debrief like, where did we win? Where did we learn? Like, what were some of the things? Like if you're like I don't know, like you're a ministry and you want to start, doing a podcast, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's way more work than we anticipated.
Way more. I mean,
way more team.
Our production team can attest to that.
Yeah, I mean, our producers like literally edited till 4 or 5
I
a.m.
showed up
sometimes.
at the gym. So my gym is right next to the church offices where our production team edits, and I work out at 5:30 in the morning. I show up at 5:30 in the morning.
Robot.
And there is our team editing. I walk in, they're like, yeah, we just stayed overnight. We're editing a couple episodes. Like, what are you doing?
What?
There is a lot that goes into this that people don't see behind the scenes, and our team is amazing.
Yes. Where I want to start, though, what is your favorite memory of the podcast? So we'll start favorite memory. I want like a moment where either it was funny, it was impactful, whatever the case may be. It looks like you want to start.
I'm just racking my brain on all the different. Do we talk about Pitbull?
Oh, Pitbull.
I don't know. Do we talk about Mike speaking in tongues on his first episode? Christian being directionally unaware?
Yep.
I don't know. There's so many different things we could talk about. But how about Pitbull?
Here's the thing about Pitbull. It was the first episode.
Fifth value of the
It was the first episode that we were doing. And I remember I'm just like, I'm nervous. I'm like, man, I'm looking through all my notes and I have this whole outline prepared, but I'm a joke guy. I like jokes, man. You know what I mean? That's why I shaved my head. I was just like, dude, it was a joke. Okay, and then it actually caught on, and I'm like, okay. And then The Rock sponsored me for his new film, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a movie star. I'm just kidding. But I remember doing the outline, and so I don't know where this came from. I'm not saying it was the Spirit of God, but it was the Spirit of God. It was the Spirit of Pitbull. And out of nowhere, I remember I was just like, I think I should start making Pitbull jokes. And then in the first, I think it was the very first episode, right?
Yeah.
Lauren?
Yeah.
It was the first episode. It was just like Pitbull, Pitbull, Pitbull,
I think we had, like,
Pitbull,
30
Pitbull.
records.
Yeah, and she like put like a counter of like Pitbull.
Doing some research yesterday, and you know, there's a guy. I don't know if you know him. His name's Pitbull. Okay. And,
I thought he was gonna say something spiritual.
no, he's
Mr. 305.
yes, Mr. 305. Question. Thank you, Pitbull.
What does the 508?
And we have the values of our ministry: leadership, excellence, and honor. And then we added, or maybe it was the holy, humble, healthy, hungry. And then we added the fifth value onto that episode, was Pitbull, which is just dumb. But, and then obviously we had, I think my favorite moment was, we had, I don't know if you would call it a slogan. I think he called it a slogan, the purpose of this podcast.
Oh, dude.
And I'm
Can we edit? Go back to that real quick. This was the greatest moment.
yeah.
Listen, and so you know, if it's your first time, thank you for coming. And then yeah. Was that tongues?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I had a heart attack on mine.
Yeah, hey,
I had. Let's restart the entire.
Okay.
Okay, so
Anyways.
bringing it back. The purpose of this podcast is to help you navigate. All those that are on YouTube. I just totally lost. I looked at Lauren. I said, "Cut it. You need to cut everything."
I mean, but the best part though, if you look at that part in that film, I look at Dev and I was genuinely like hurt. I was hurt. I looked at him, I'm like, dude, you gotta stop this. And he's like, bro, you can't stop the podcast. We're in the middle.
Oh my God.
We are in the middle of the film. So,
That was one of my favorites. I remember JD. So actually, probably my favorite episode, just that personally impacted me, was the episode on excellence. So we call it a secret called excellence.
mhm.
So I asked Justin, I asked JD to be part of it. JD comes here. He brings this encyclopedia. Basically, it was a huge iPad. This thing was the size of my car. I didn't think that thing was going to stop coming out of the bag. It looked like an elder's scroll. So he brings, of course, all his notes. He brought it with excellence. It was awesome. But he definitely fumbled over. He talked about how he was reading these Bibles.
Taught me those values, and I read the Bible that showed me and taught me those Bibles, or that
Those values?
showed me those values.
That's so going to be a blue.
That showed me those values.
He just totally fumbled over, and then he just froze in the middle of it. Matter of fact, you should go watch this clip. Maybe we'll attach it to this video right now. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. That was hilarious. There's been so many different mishaps, and I know, Ruh, we were just talking about this beforehand. You actually have lost your spirit of stiffness upon the podcast.
Apparently I have.
You're actually so free. You've become a great communicator.
Thank you.
So just some honor for you.
Thank you.
But
I
maybe
really
we can go
appreciate
back
it.
to show the first episode.
I was nervous, okay?
This is Ruh. Hi. Ruh, do you have anything to say?
No.
No. Why are you on this podcast? Yeah, you don't know.
That's false, but I definitely was a little stiff.
It was Lori and myself. Pastor Devon married us. And then we had a photographer, as well as Becca, who you'll see here in the upcoming episode.
Or the scars that we bear because of it, because it just complicates and hurts so many different areas of our life.
Just to clear the air, whenever all this nonsense was happening in y'all's episode, I was not a part of it to shut it down. So this is why we tend to bring women into the podcast. Actually, which brings to my favorite moment, podcast moment, it was when we had the ladies take over for Girl You've Been Lied To. I thought it was awesome. We had some wisdom from Nat, Whit, Becca, and myself, and I just thought it was so great to kind of clear the air for some of the lies that women are told. And I don't know, it was just awesome to be in the studio with all the ladies, and
Those are two of our most popular
none of
episodes
you fellas.
2020.
Yeah,
You guys did good.
I
you
think.
haven't watched it, go
Do you
watch it.
think guys should watch that?
absolutely.
Why?
I think it gives an insight to kind of what women go through and how we process certain things or what we feel like we have to work through on a day-to-day. You guys don't always get to see that like firsthand. And then even hearing from us speak from our own experiences and how we handle certain things. I think it's great. Honestly, for men specifically, I think it's an awesome 2 episodes.
I thought, matter of fact, I thought it almost might be more valuable to men to watch that. When you guys submitted the content and just even the notes of it, I was like, this is really helpful to get insight into the mind of a woman. I think how women think and even feel about culture today. Speak for sure. So yeah, that was definitely a weird moment.
Suspect.
Definitely a weird moment. But fellas, I would highly recommend going back and watching those 2 episodes, especially if you are single and you don't understand or you're not understanding a woman directly. Like, you never will, for sure. But I have learned more about my wife over the years as I've gotten to see kind of how she thinks and processes. I know her triggers, I know her strengths. I think this would be a great episode for you to be equipped on how to understand the mind and even the lifestyle of a woman. So go check this out. I think they're going to put a link above, but go check that video out. It would be really helpful for you.
I loved. I left my past behind. I remember when we.
That went super high engagement, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys sharing your story was so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved. I don't know. There's something. It's always something special, like when we can have like testimony talk and be real. Because I feel like sometimes in the church culture, and maybe even like you're a part of a ministry right now, and it's like sometimes it's tough to be a man or a woman, and you're in a leadership position, and you're just like real. Like, I know it looks like we're a part of this podcast and we do this, and it's like, but I'm not perfect. I know that we're all not perfect. And I remember sharing that. I was actually at a wedding recently, and there was a buddy who had come up to me, and he's like, hey, I love what you guys are doing with the podcast. And I was in Carolina. I'm like, bro, you watch the podcast? He was like, yeah. What's crazy is in this random group chat with a bunch of my buddies, he was like, this guy that didn't even know us, doesn't know our ministry. He's like, hey, you guys got to watch this. Like, watch this episode.
Wow.
And it's like, it was, I don't know, it's kind of cool to see that. I don't know, sometimes when you take the guard off and you don't have to be perfect and you don't have to be like this perfect, like super righteous Christian, and you could just be real about like struggles with pornography, which has been a theme that we've walked through, and like struggles with like purity and how do I walk here? How do I get free here? How do I get free from alcohol? Like all those different testimonies that we had. Sure. It was cool to see that God had his hand on that. Like God blessed that. Yeah. He wasn't like, I'm ashamed of my sons and daughters because they struggled with this. It was like, if you struggle, good. Bring it to the table. Let's get through it. Let's be real about it. Like let's get clean. Let's get free. And I feel like in many ways, even from, and I'd love to hear maybe even a testimony from you guys. I know there's a bunch of people that were like reaching out to us and stuff like that of like, but I feel like it's bigger than just a YouTube video, and it's bigger than a podcast. Like we had salvations. We had people that came to our church just because of like the reality of like, okay, if I go to this church, I actually don't have to be perfect. I really don't. And I could be like normal. I don't have to grow up in church and be, or I don't even have to, like if I was a pastor's kid, I can feel free to just kind of be me. So I'd love to, if you guys have any testimonies, stuff like that, I'd love to hear. Because I think we're blessed. I think we reached a lot of people. I think we impacted a lot of people. It's been great.
I just wanted to add really quick, I think a lot of times people struggle to think that they can step into leadership or even just serving because they don't have a perfect past, or they used to struggle with things. But
It wasn't a shot. I'm saying like, Jamie, you preach.
I think we do such a great job at just welcoming people, and that starts with those who have gone through things being vulnerable and sharing their story. And that's how you reach more people, you know, like they can relate to you, so I can help them go through their situation because I've been there. So I think just like this culture, we're so great at not telling people to come, be perfect, because that's not who we are. We'll never claim to be that. And we want you with your imperfections, and we want to help you get through those situations. And you will step into leadership. You will step into what God has for you.
That's good. That's good. I feel like you're so loose right now. It just feels.
Spirit of stiffness is gone.
It's just gone. It's just, you're absolutely preaching. Yeah, I would say a little principle that always comes to my mind is people, they are impressed by your gifts, but they relate with your weaknesses. I love that about our culture. Honestly, I try to lead from the front in that. Everybody on this team, including the people that are on the backside of these cameras, they know my weaknesses, they know my imperfections. Shut your freaking mouths. But I would say that there's a culture here that you're allowed to be imperfect. I think this is the perfect place for imperfect people. I think this is this house, this culture. And we don't all agree on everything. We don't all relate on everything, but we love each other deeply. There's an unconditional love for sure. But I would say that is something that I just think churches get so wrong so often. And I knew for this culture, what we wanted to build was one that you do not have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all together. I'm going to throw a post out later this week. Justin and I have been talking about this, but I will say we can lead sinners, but what can we not lead, Jay?
Cannot lead liars.
We can lead sinners, but we cannot lead liars. And so people that are lying to other people, the primary reason is because they're lying to themselves first. But we can lead sinners. Sinners, listen, if you're a sinner, if you have a past, if you got some craziness going on in your life, you are welcome to this church. Matter of fact, this is our leadership team, I heard one preacher, he was like, we have prostitutes, we have pimps, we have drug addicts, and that's just the pastoral staff. I just thought it was so funny. But honestly, you look at our leadership team, you look at the people behind this camera, the teams here, like nobody is unscathed from a crazy past. But listen, God can redeem it. I just think we have to have a culture of honesty and being raw and being real, and we do have that, and that's something that we protect. What's the difference? What's the difference between honesty and transparency?
All right, so being transparent is, let's say I'm struggling with something, but I openly share it with the team because I want you guys to help me through it. If I'm being honest, I keep it to myself, and I only come clean about it when you're asking me. So if you're transparent, you're coming out on the front end, and you're like, this is what I'm dealing with. If you're just being honest, I'm waiting for people to ask me first and say, like, what are you going through? Did you do this? Did you lie? It's always better to be transparent than have to be honest in the back half.
Yeah. Transparent's like, I need help. Honest is, I got caught.
That's good. Should have asked him.
No, you did good.
I would say, though, it's dangerous. It's dangerous when you are waiting for somebody to engage with you and ask you, are you okay, and stuff like that. I would just be very forthright. I think one of the reasons people don't experience life change is because they don't have a safe place to be in. And I just would ask you, are you a safe place? It's a conversation we have with our leaders all the time is, are you safe? And I've always kind of used this in one of my teachings. It was called I Made a Mistake, or I Messed Up was the sermon. It's on YouTube if you want to go watch that. But it was, are you safe? It was you're wise, you're safe, and you're loved. Those three things would determine if you're a safe place. So when somebody makes a mistake, Galatians 6:1, they should be handled gently, and the goal should be to restore them. And so I always would come back with, even when a mistake is made, even when somebody does something stupid or dumb, it doesn't mean they're stupid or dumb. It just means the mistake was, the decision was, but they're wise, they're safe, and they're loved.
I think what I love about our ministry is it's one thing for you to say, I don't know, that you don't need to be perfect, because you hear that in a church circle all the time. But then you go to your pastor, and then you're like, hey, pastor, this happened. And I'm not saying from personal experience, you know what I mean, Dev? I don't know that I've ever come up to you and just like, hey, man, besides last week. But besides that, I don't know. I feel like it feels good to be in a ministry where it's okay to fail. Not to stay there, though. I think that's a key distinction. What I love about our pastor is we can fail, and there's grace and there's love, and we're wise, we're loved, yes, but you're not staying there. We gotta call you a little bit higher. Totally. And I love to. I almost feel like, in many ways, we've had a grace that God has given us with this podcast, where it's like we started somewhere. We started from the bottom in Ruh's apartment.
Not bad.
And
okay. I still live there.
That was a dope part. I'm not even gonna lie.
It's a nice place.
Wait, can I say something real quick on that? I think to the leader, I am the pastor of this community, but really these people to my left, even many people behind the scenes right now, they're also very pastoral to the community. And I think sometimes we have this man of God syndrome or woman of God syndrome. Like, I fully am accepting. Sometimes it's things, as is all correction, but I fully accept when they can call me. I gave them permission, and you guys have permission to do so, and they have. I think when you are eliminating somebody from being able to correct you or put their finger in your eye, you are negating growth. I think you are going to really eliminate a lot of your effectiveness as well. I have blind spots just as much as they do, and some of them have really big blind spots. I'm just kidding. Specifically, no, I'm kidding.
No, you're not kidding.
No, but I think this man of God syndrome, or because you're the leader, they can't talk to you that way, or they have to speak to you because you're Moses on Mount Sinai coming down and the glory of the Lord is on you. No, don't play that game. I think it's really important where you have to be able to receive correction just as much as they do, and you lead from the front, leader. I think so many people don't do that, and I think that's what's really dangerous, and that's why we don't have longevity. Really, it leads into our vision of this year. Am I allowed to go there right now?
Sure.
So the vision was birthed from the vision for 2021. We've had, this past 3 years, we've had this theme, this vision for every single year. Yep. 2019, it was Kings and Queens. You guys remember that? Yeah. It's still probably my favorite. It's the vision for our ministry. We exist to produce
Kings and Queens.
We exist to produce kings and queens. It's not how many people are coming to our services. It's the quality of the person that we're producing. We want to produce and lead and influence and develop kings and queens. Basically leaders, influencers. And then 2020 was the year of the trailblazer. And so we were blazing a trail, pioneering a pathway where there was no path, and really blazing a trail for the next generation. In 2020, we actually got to see that. We hired Whitney Cook. I'm so proud of her. I don't know where she's at. I think you're over there. I can't really see. But we hired her, and she has blown up our student ministry. There's an incredible team behind her that she's developed. And we got these young guns. We even did a few podcasts, which, by the way, go back and listen and watch those. There's a couple episodes. I believe they'll put it in the link up here. But I was just so proud of we're blazing a trail for the next generation. And what Built to Last, which is the theme for 2021, the vision for 2021, came from was both a burden and it was scripture. So the burden was, I have seen so many people that I looked up to, people that I've seen in my life, and they just don't last not only in ministry, but in faith. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can't even begin to describe to you how many times, actually Emilio and I, who's one of the leaders of this team, we've talked about this a few times, we just have to outlast some people to showcase that what we have inside of us is for real. Mm-hmm. And so most people, many people, they don't last in ministry, much less faith. And so what we decided, and we kind of collaborated as a team, I felt like the Lord spoke to me this, I brought it to the team in collaboration, was this Built to Last vision. So not just building something that lasts for a year, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now is the thing that we built still in construction and still developing and still growing. It comes from Nehemiah. Nehemiah saw his city of Jerusalem. It was broken down. The walls were broken down. The city was completely, basically abandoned and not protected at all. And so he saw the city, and then the Lord gave him this goal and this dream, this vision to rebuild these walls, to rebuild the city of Jerusalem, God's chosen people, this place, this incredible holy land. He was responsible to build it back up again. And later on in, I believe it's chapter 7 or 8 of Nehemiah, Ezra comes back into the picture. Ezra's the book before. Nehemiah constructs the wall, the system, the structure, and Ezra builds the people. And so it kind of leads me to the question of Built to Last, which is twofold. One is, what good is a fortified city without a fortified soul? And so both of those things, there's personal development, there is structure, there is systems, there are practical things in place, the wall, but then also building up the soul of people, which is just like, we don't want to just build a big ministry, we want to build up big people. And I think that's what this team is for. I think that's where we're going, and Built to Last vision, that's what we're trying to accomplish.
What I love about that story too is, like, you look at chapter 1, and I'm stealing this language from you, but there was a leader that was brokenhearted. Like, God spoke to a leader. But I love in chapter 3 how Nehemiah built a team. Mm-hmm. He built the team.
He couldn't do it by himself.
He couldn't do it. So talking about built to last, I feel like, and maybe even for you, maybe you're a leader of a ministry and you're looking to start a podcast. And you're like, dang, I don't know how we're going to start a podcast. And you're trying to do it by yourself, which is really the issue. It's not the vision that you have. It's not where you want to go. It's the fact that where you want to go, you're trying to do it just you. And you're frustrated and you're tired and you want to give up and you feel like maybe your ministry, like from the outside, like it looks like the walls are crumbling down. And now you need to be like the Nehemiah who comes in with a broken heart for his people. And then he doesn't go alone. He goes and he builds a team. And then what? And then they start to build the wall. And so maybe for you, you're looking at this podcast and, obviously it didn't start with a team of 30 people. It started with a team of just a few. Mm-hmm. And then there were more. Once the vision was cast, there were more people who came. And so what I would love to kind of hear from you guys too is for somebody who's looking to start a podcast, maybe it's not even within a ministry, maybe they're trying to do their own thing. What were maybe some lessons that we have learned as a ministry as to how do we do this well? Where did we screw up? Where did we do things really well? And how can we help them?
So the way you were speaking, like we don't just care about, like you said, Dev, we don't care about just building a team, but we care about building like a healthy team. Mm-hmm. So that's where our vision of like the healthy 100 came in. Mm-hmm. It's not just we want a team of 100, we want a healthy 100. Like we want people to be taken care of, to be healthy internally and even ourselves. Like I think we can't pour from an empty place. And so we have to be healthy to be able to build that team that we do need. So that was a big lesson for me personally, like how can I get healthy so that I can make sure that the people around me, the people that are coming after me are just as healthy. So like if I'm not in a good place, I can't like duplicate myself in that unhealthy place. So I think that was big, even for just this team, like making sure that we're getting the right people in the right place, but that everyone here today is healthy and whole and that they're not just serving, but they're working on themselves too.
I think a lesson just from what you were saying is if you take care of the team will take care of the ministry. I think we do a really good job at that. We got a lot of leaders that take care of people really well. Mike's actually taken on a big role in leadership for this podcast. There's team behind him, no question, but I think you've gotten a lot of vision and you've given such great direction for where this is headed and from where it was to where it's headed. I mean, this is our first episode for 2021. 10 times better than anything we've done before already. It's been incredible, so I want to honor you and thank you.
The preparation you put into things is unrivaled.
Thank you, bro.
Absolutely. But I think that would be the plan and the goal for you is you're really not delivering a product as much as you're delivering and taking care of people who deliver a product. It's not selling something or really not just trying to get you information. We want you to get involved in a community. We're a part of a church.
It's good.
Like we're a part of Connect Church. The 508 is a extension and it's an arm of Connect Church.
Good.
And so more than the conversations maybe we can introduce you to or content or answers or information, more than that, you need community more than answers. You need community more than answers. That's a word for somebody right there. And we're all involved in this. I'm not just the only lifeline. Thank God. You guys would be screwed if I was your only lifeline. But all of you guys are mentoring people. All of you guys are mentored by other people. And we're part of this big thing, this big vision called Connect Church. And I'm very proud of what I get to serve under. My pastors, Derek and Stacy Fry, our pastoral team takes very good care of our people. And I'm grateful to be part of a community more than being a part of the podcast.
Yeah. For those that are looking to start a podcast, I think what really helped us stand out was we were very prepared. And I think that ties in with just the spirit of Mike. He is such a prepared man, like in everything he does.
Even
not
his
just
jokes, like you just write.
Yes,
you write jokes, and
that's
I'm like,
what he does.
how do you write
They say
jokes?
preparation, I only prepare jokes. I will have a list.
But it's not just preparing for the podcast. Like when you were, I can't believe I said that. The P's and the P's and the P's.
So many P's.
Preparing to prep with planning for the podcast.
No, but even when you're emceeing on stage, like you take that so seriously, and I think that really ties into the success of the podcast. Is you prepare so well. leading up to it, so we know exactly what's happening. But also, we were very clear in why we wanted to start this podcast. It wasn't, oh, we want to be heard. It's we want to help people navigate their 20s because we feel like the 20s, your 20s, are one of the most important times of your life. It can either set you up for success or it can destroy your future. And so we wanted to go into it with a clear vision. So it helped us communicate and pick topics. If you just go into it ambiguous and you don't know what you're going to talk about, I don't think you're really going to have success. So being able to sit down before you actually deliver content is understand what do you want to deliver.
That's good.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
good.
consistency. I think E was telling us the other day that, the majority, I think it's the vast majority of podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes, but those that do are there to last. And so we were just consistent in what we were wanting to do. We were pumping it out and having it consistent on a monthly basis. People knew when to tune in and what to expect. And so because of that, we have this now, and it's been amazing.
Y'all are preaching me happy right now. Just like, I feel so good. It's awesome to see, because we're 22 episodes in? 24 episodes in? Yeah, we got a lot of episodes now, and it's just something that's like, I can't believe we did this. It was not easy. Like, make no mistake, I hope you heard what Justin just said. You don't start a podcast to be heard. That's selfish, that's not serving in any way, and honestly, that's such poor motivation, you're not gonna last. If you're doing this to not be heard, but to help people, completely different motivation. I'm telling you, you'll be able to sustain that. I heard this from a mentor that was just teaching my dad and I this past week. He says your 20s are for learning it, your 30s are for earning it, and your 50s and beyond are for returning it. So in your 20s, that's our goal. That's our goal, is we're trying to help you to learn, give you tools, give you equipment, give you principles to live and navigate your 20s well. Listen, your 20s are not for living it up. It's not for partying it up. It's for learning, it's for training, it's for growing. So that when your Jesus year hits, you're 30, my gosh, you can take off. Now that's not to be religious, like 30 and then that's when you blow up. That's not what I'm saying at all. But really your 20s are for training, not for partying.
Let's go there. I gotta go.
Your 20s are for training, not for partying.
I knew that earlier.
Gosh, I wish we all got this at a younger age. So for some of my young guns, some of the high school, just graduated, listen to me, 20s are for training, not for partying. If you want to live well, my dad used to say this to me as a kid. I'm starting to feel the Holy Ghost right now, I'm just saying. My dad used to say this as a kid. He says you can either play now and pay later, or you can pay now and play later. You get to decide the chronology on that. So what I would highly recommend is train, learn, grow, work. In the future episodes, we're going to talk about singleness. This is what you should be doing in your single years. You shouldn't be waiting, you should be working. Right? Job is a book in the Bible, but it also represents of a job. You need a freaking job, okay? But I would say that'd be so important for so many of us. We're working hard. You have a great career and you're actually killing it. All of them are doing such a good job. But I'd say built to last, especially if you want to launch a podcast. I don't even know where I got on this question. I started preaching. I don't know. But I'll repeat that first part. Your 20s are for learning it. Really, teens are for learning it. 30s are for earning it, and your 50s and beyond are for returning it.
I think that's good. I don't know. I think for me, I'll just share a personal testimony too, where I had talked to Pastor Devon about even launching like a personal YouTube channel and stuff like that. I learned a lot about my motives. I learned a lot. I saw that there was a lot of good motives, and I saw that there was a lot of ugly, bad motives there too. It wasn't both. I mean, it wasn't one or the other, it was both. And for somebody, maybe you're in a ministry right now, and they want to start a podcast, but you want to start your own. And you know what's interesting is like, I didn't feel God speak to me about this, but I felt like almost like an impression. Like, I need to double down on what God is doing in this ministry. That's what I felt. I was like, instead of me doing my own thing, instead of me going off on my own path, what if I doubled down on the vision that God has given my pastor? And what if I honored him? And what if I honored this ministry? And what if I went all in where God had me? And maybe that's what you needed to hear too, because you have this vision like, yeah, man, I want to start this YouTube channel and I want to be like rich and famous and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that it's all that, but if I were real with me, I had part of that in me. And what was interesting was when I made a decision to get laser focused, I let go of it. And there was a big piece of my pride that went down in the drain. And I said, you know what? I don't need to do X, Y, and Z for myself anymore. What I want to do is I want to get in the lane, in the anointing, and in the blessing of God, and in the favor of God. And maybe that's a get better for you personally. And I love how you were saying that, Ruh, where it was like, you needed to be better. You needed to be healthy. And when you were healthy, everything else around us was healthy. So I wonder if, for you watching this, I wonder if you could let go of what you think you're supposed to do, and you could actually pick up what God wants you to do and be under a lane and an anointing and a vision. So I guess we'll wrap it up in a second. I do want to hear very, very practically some goals from you guys for 2021. I think that'd be helpful. I'd love to see kind of what God is speaking to you. But I wanted to share some vision for the podcast first, for this podcast specifically. Our strategy team, our core team, our strategy team within the 508, we have a lot of vision for this thing. And whenever I think about like where we're going, it comes from from Connect's vision, multiply. And I really see for us that in order for us to multiply long-term through the podcast and through our ministry and through the 508, we need to be built to last. We need to be built to last. So it's like, when I see it, it's not Connect's vision, the 508's vision. It's like Connect is here and we're moving down this place. And we are, as a group of people, we are learning how to be built to last in our 20s. So in our 30s, what was it? So you could earn it? So we can earn it. I'm trying to earn it when I'm 30. And I believe that's where we're going to go. And so I think I'll declare it now. We're going to multiply this thing. And God's going to put his hand of favor upon this podcast, upon this ministry. And even for you, I just want to speak this over your life. I believe God's going to put his hand of favor on you. And somebody had spoken to me, your voice needs to be heard. Your voice needs to be heard. Maybe not the way that you think it does. Maybe not in your own lane. Maybe under your pastor, maybe under his vision. But I will tell you that he's going to multiply you as well, and your voice needs to be heard.
Good word, Mike.
So let's end it with a little bit of goals. I want to start with you. I'm proud of you. I want you to know that. I remember when I first came back to the 508 and I saw Ruh and we grew up together. I've seen you grow into not a leader, but like a leader of leaders. And I've seen God put his hand of favor on you. And Dev really believed in you and he poured into you. And now you're leading, I would say, hundreds of women, even through this podcast and stuff like that. So I think you deserve to go first from the work that you've put in. So what are some of your goals for 2021?
I know, right? No, honestly, it's been an honor, though. You're right, Pastor Devon did believe in me, put a lot of time and energy and grace and a lot of other things.
Still looking to get that time back.
I'll pay you. Actually, I pay you back watching your kids. So, yeah, I think last year was a huge growth year for me. I didn't really realize, and I think a lot of people this happened to, like you didn't realize you needed 2020, but it was a really big year for me. But just stepping into this year, it's like you're on this high because you're like, wow, all these things happen. So like, where do I go from here? But I think I'm just going to continue to like pursue God, make that a priority in my life. I read 6 books last year, and I want to beat that this year. I'm not a huge fan of reading, so I'm aiming for like 8, and that's really tough.
Progress.
Yeah, right?
It's good to still win.
Yeah.
My pastor reads like 57
I was about to say,
every other
he reads
week.
8 books a week. He's just like,
36, that's my goal.
Oh, okay. Well, 6 is good for me. So I want to do that. And then, like, personally, I want to get in, like, the best shape of my life. Because I just turned 27 this year. I'm, like, fossil gang now.
Abuelita.
And,
Isn't that the grandma?
yeah, not that old. But before I turn 30, I'm like, maybe I'll just feel really good, look really good. So, yeah, hold me accountable to that.
How about you, Jeff?
I got a couple big ones this year. I don't think it's been announced on the podcast yet, but I am going to be a father.
Whoop, whoop.
So that is my number one goal for this year.
Dude, you're having
to-
sex?
Yeah, if you didn't know, I did get married. It's like on the first or second episode of the podcast.
You got engaged and married in like 2 days.
It was 2 months, but yeah, I did get engaged and married very quickly, and it was the best decision of my life. But, and my wife is right on the other end of this camera. So, I am going to be a father. So that's my
looking at the camera?
I'm looking at my wife. Right? I'm looking through the camera right now. But the Sabbath, I'm taking the Sabbath very seriously. This is the year of the Sabbath for me. Finished a book early on called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry that you guys recommended. One of the best books I've read. The most convicting book outside of the Bible that I've ever read. And it really set a lot of priorities in my life straight. So I'm able to really honor and set aside time for myself, for my relationship with God, and for my wife. But then this year is all about just preparing for becoming a dad.
Talk to me, Dev. How are we feeling?
48 books?
This is a hard question because I have a few. I use kind of a model. There's a scripture, Luke 2:52. Jesus grew in wisdom, stature, favor with God, favor with man. So there's 4 things. Wisdom, intellectual, stature, physical, favor with God, spiritual, favor with man, relational. I had another one, just because I'm doing this more digital, just more things. Yeah.
It wasn't around.
Do you have any like alliteration or something like that? Just, like,
Not necessarily. I do have an affirmation.
6 A's of 2021.
I have an affirmation for all 5 of those. So, what is it? Physical, I'm healthy. Intellectual, I'm a student. Spiritual, I'm a man of God. Relational, I'm life-giving. And 5th, I'm a creator. So those are like my affirmations.
And 6th, I'm a Yoda.
What are you laughing at? I don't understand.
All right, give me 2 practical goals.
So 2 big ones. One is I am going to write. I've already started the writing process and release and publish my first book this year. So I'm thinking about this. Tell me what you guys think. So Kings and Queens, you guys kind of know I've been talking about this for a little bit. Kings and Queens. And here's, I think, the subtitle is The Answer to a Nation is Sitting on the Couch. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys like that? The Answer to a Nation is Sitting on the Couch. I don't know, just something I'm working through.
We did a lot of couch sitting this year. So.
Basically, it's just why I believe in the next generation and how we've done it. So it's my story, our story, rewriting stories was kind of the 3 different sections of the book. So it's going to be my story a little bit, the 508 story a good bit, and then basically how we did it at the end of it is kind of what I'm thinking. That's a big goal of mine. Pray for me on that. I need some help on that. I need an editor as well. I need somebody that I can submit a chapter to and can cut it. So if you're interested, DM me. I'm definitely looking for that. That's a big goal of mine. I think mine is a lot more relational than it is accomplishing and productive this year. Honestly, I want to take more time with family, and I want to do a big vacation, and I want to go on 3 getaways with my family and my sons this year. So I'd love to do a lot of that.
Can you briefly tell us what do you do in your morning routine for study?
Yeah, I take about an hour plus every day. Now, this is a part of my role, so I know not everybody can do that, but I'm in my Bible for probably 20 to 30 minutes a day, and I'm reading a book or 2. I'm reading about 3 or 4 books at a time, but I'm trying to read about 3 to 3.5 books a month, so that ends up being about 36 plus. So I love content. I love consuming it. Reading is one of my favorite things to do. It wasn't always that way, but yeah, that would be my morning routine. I learned my morning routine a little bit from you, actually. Waking up in the morning, I chug a huge thing of water. I'm trying to cut to 2 meals a day this year. The fast really helped me a lot with that. I'm trying to sustain my fast. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. The fast reset everything for me. Yeah. And it's so healthy. So I'm trying to cut to 2 meals a day, probably like 1 little shake in the middle of that. But I'm trying to sustain that.
Yeah, it's good. A couple quick goals, I would say. I had an interesting thought about possibly giving some sort of offering to the church every month, which was like a small goal. It's not like a big offering, but I don't know. I felt like that's like a really cool anchor to have in a way, to always be in this habit of giving, not only like within the podcast or like serving and stuff like that, but also with like resources, like to be in this place where I'm constantly training myself, my mind, my heart to give, especially to the place where there's vision. like the vision of this house. So that's like a very, very practical one. I want to read more. Here's another thing too. Like sometimes you can hear Pastor Devon and he like reading 36 books. Like you're just trying to read 8. It's like, can I just read 8? So Pastor Devon has a very specific role. So don't feel like legalistic about, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And oh my gosh, if Dev's doing this, I got to do it too.
I'm a teacher, so I have to be a student. So that's not for everybody's.
He's constantly feeding, which is, and if you're a teacher, if you're in the ministry, then that's a very good goal to set for yourself. Like, let me set an hour and a half, 2 hours of like reading and consuming content and stuff like that, so I can produce. For me, Ruh and Justin, like we have full-time jobs where we're not in a ministry context. So for me, it looks a little bit different. Like for me, if I read one chapter and I digest it and maybe read a psalm or like a proverb and I'm really in it, and maybe I pray a little bit or listen to a worship song and I have 15, 20 minutes before I have to go to work, sometimes that's a huge win for me. And then on Saturdays, I will go away for like 3, 4, 5 hours and I'll spend time with God. I'll debrief, I'll emotionally like unwind and like try to get healthy again. Sometimes I'll get beat up during the week. On Saturday, I get healthy. I process things. I read the word. I'm in stuff. So don't feel like you have to be legalistic about like these new routines, but we always have to be growing. Any last thoughts?
It's been an honor to be able to have a conversation with you guys and get to lead you. Thank you so much for engaging in our content even this past year. Let me make you a promise that this year is going to be twice as good and better and growing. And we really want to help you. So if you would shoot us DMs, comment on the channel, we want to speak to things that are specific to you and I really want to help you. But more than anything, don't just engage with our digital content, especially if you're local. Become a part of our community. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic. We still are having city groups. We're having gatherings and meetings, but you need community, you need church, you need small groups. That's so important. And so don't just engage in the content, engage in community.
Amen.
All right. Hey, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Again, at the 508, we don't fear the future. We pioneer it, and we're going to continue to pioneer it. So we love you guys. Like, subscribe, do whatever you got to do, and we'll see you in the next one. Love y'all.